guess you've figured out by now that I'm sort of the history aspect of, or the memory part of the co-op. I worked for 22 years there for 9 managers. First one, Moffat McPherson, who hated vegetables, but he loved having his beer at noon. Then there was Bill Cannon, who loved vegetables. In fact, the carrots no longer hung limply over the plastic barrier. He loved his scotch and his soccer. Number 3 was a meat and 2 veg man called Rusty Harrison. Made really good soup, and he was a lot of fun to work with. Then we had Lee Bodie. Yes, he introduced us to ding-dongs and all those other things, some of which had a shelf life that I'm sure if you looked in the back of the store, they're still there. Very briefly, we had a man called Stan Glyden, who was a dear fellow from Federated who filled in, and then a female manager, Kirsten Humphreys, came, and that was a big deal. And I guess it must have worked, because then we had another female manager, Sheila McDonald, who, if those of you remember, she really loved having dogs and drummers on the front porch. Sheila got pregnant, so nothing to do with the drummers. And so Stan Glyden came back again briefly, and then out of the prairies came this very nice but rather naive man called Ken Rowan. I don't think he ever figured us out, ever. But he did learn to paint while he was here on velvet, which was lovely. And then my last manager, but the longest lasting, Phoebe Long, whom as you all know, we have no idea who's going to be next, do we? No. And oh, by the way, happy 85th birthday to Jim Friessen, Bernie's father, who is visiting us from the prairies. It's me again. Long before there was Jan's or the Verizon, if you wanted to have lunch around the co-op, you had to come into the store. And one of the duties of those of us who worked there was we had to make a soup every day. And I think the best way to describe it was, this won't sell, so it's going to be soup. So you remember those limp carrots I mentioned? Well, there were limp carrots, wrinkly cabbage, potatoes with smelly spots on them, green beans that were so slimy, an onion that looked like an octopus, and dented cans of soup with no labels. At least we think they were soup.
It tasted good to us.
Oh, thank you. We put it all into a pot, stuck it on the old oil stove. It perked away all morning, and actually it wasn't that bad because most people liked it, except for Mary Mackenzie. She said it was far too salty. One last memory. This one happened on November the 1st, really, really cold weather after the Halloween party. And I was facing the shelves and working away, and I looked out the window, and down from Sammy's was a naked woman riding a bicycle. Well, obviously the rest of the staff had seen it too, because they all just went into the back, and they left me. They were sort of peeking out behind the wooden doors that swung there. So she came into the store, and I guess the best thing you could say was she was in a really altered state. And so she would walk over to the store, and she'd get the shelf, and she'd go, oh, and then she'd put it down, and then she'd go and she'd pick up something else. She was just so out of it. And I didn't know what to do, so I finally went up and said, well, excuse me, dear, but aren't you cold? Well, you know, maybe you'd feel better if you went and put some clothes on. Well, I've got a really good idea. Why don't you just go home, get some clothes on, come back, and then you can shop. And so on, and so on, and so on. Finally, She did leave the store. She got on her bicycle and she swung her leg over. Just as Betty Smith and one of the representatives from the Islands Trust were coming, and Betty was showing this woman the island. And she did. Perhaps a little more than Betty had planned on.